Welcome to Our Road to Success, the podcast where we chronicle our journey through the mad roadmap to the American dream. My name is Iggy Kid. I'm a professional freelance voiceover actor and writer, coming to you with my co-host.
My name is Christian Hansen, and I am a general madman / artist who is trying to get a YouTube channel up and going. Let's get started.
All right, today is going to be different from what we'll usually do. We did do a few beta episodes. I don't know how many people will be coming over from those, but this is pretty much the beginning of our first official episodes, and we don't have full access to the show notes on one side and many things, so...
Yeah, and I'm also recording from outside, so this is... I apologize about the birds and stuff you're hearing in the background.
Yeah, as long as you're audible.
All right, it works for me.
All right, so more or less, this episode is just going to be an introduction. I'm going to kind of explain what we'll usually go over, but for now, we're just going to kind of introduce ourselves in the show and explain what we'll be doing most weeks. So, Christian, if you want to just kind of explain yourself and your background as far as freelancing goes.
Yeah, so my name's Christian Hansen. I, consider myself an artist / animator. I met Iggy 3 years ago. We were working on a project together. Project didn't really go as planned.
No, it didn't.
Maybe get into that one day. But, for right now, pretty much since then, I've been telling myself, I want to just focus on my own thing, get like a YouTube channel up and going. So, as a resort to fund that, I've been doing a lot of weird, side jobs and freelancing and all sorts of crazy not industries, but just crazy mediums and stuff like that. So, yes, that's pretty much me right now.
Oh, yeah. We're going to definitely get into the sorts of weird jobs that we do.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah, like most of my stuff, I'll get to that in just a second. My name's Iggy Kid. I'm a freelance voiceover actor, as I said, and writer, but I don't really do that as freelance quite as much since it's a little more difficult to get into. But I specialize in voiceover, and I mostly work through Fiverr, which is, $5. You do whatever amount of voiceover, whatever it is. It can be any kind of medium that you want to do. And most of my work ends up being like explainer videos or like Kickstarter videos and stuff. A lot of narration stuff, some ad stuff. It's a lot of repeat customers who don't necessarily speak English that well, but do create quite a lot of animations and things. So it's pretty decent work so far. It's been snowballing. I've been working at it hard for about a month. My background, it starts... Let's see. I originally had an interest in voice acting really since I found out that it was a thing back in, elementary school or whatever, when I found out that it's actually a thing that people do. And then in 2010 or so, I tried out for a couple of things. Didn't go well, didn't have great audio or anything, but I put together a podcast with some friends, and that was really my first foray into anything kind of audio related. Then in 2012, I started on the project that Christian and I ended up meeting on, which was a disaster, but it was able to give me the confidence to stick with it. So my real hardcore voiceover experience has been since around 2012 through now, so about 5 years or so. And yeah, I've learned a lot. I'm pretty much entirely self-taught. I've gotten help from some people here and there, but I haven't taken any formal courses or anything. And it's pretty rewarding. I mean, it's difficult.
You have fun with it, so it can't be that bad.
Oh yeah, it's better than the minimum wage kind of garbage hourly 9-to-5 jobs I was working before. It's, I said it was difficult a minute ago. It's not necessarily that it's difficult. It is easy, compared to a lot of jobs. This is far less of a strain. I end up working far less than I would in those, and it's, it feels like less work, but it's not that it's easy. There is skill involved, and there is quite a lot of knowledge and
absolutely.
Things that are specialized that I have to do. So it kind of all comes together with that. Talking again about the kind of projects I've done, it's like I said, mostly explainer videos and YouTube videos and stuff. And then I've done a few volunteer roles. That the thing with volunteer roles is that usually it's a situation of, I have a cool idea, I'm going to put out a casting call, but I don't have a script yet. Hence, they never end up actually writing the script because they lose the drive for it once they get the cast together, and then it just peters out and never happens. So most of the projects I've volunteered for have ended up just not happening, which is unfortunate, but at the same time, a lot of them, it seems like they would not have gone too far anyways, considering, they're the person in charge of it couldn't even manage to get a script out.
First off, this is the first time you've actually told me a lot of this.
That is
and second
true.
off, I'm over here cracking up at how much more prepared you are at describing that than I was with mine.
Yeah, I feel like I'm all over the place, but
Mine was just a sentence. Yours was just whole book there. So
yeah, I've been trying to talk myself up.
You can tell who doesn't have
lately.
the show notes right now. So
yeah, that's the thing. Yep. The main thing I've been dealing with is just but most of my job is not necessarily recording. It's just trying to get the jobs. So I've been becoming very adept at talking myself up and being very detailed about that stuff, because more than anything, once I get the job, it's pretty much no problem. I can make it work for me, but it's just getting to the point where I can actually get the job that is the difficult hurdle.
Well, I can't remember who said it. I think it was actually I think it was Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street guy. But he said something if you're applying to a job and let's say you're applying to be, in his case, it was a stockbroker. On your resume, it just says I'm a stockbroker. A lot of times, employers will look at that and they'll be all I don't care. Gosh, we already have a billion more stockbrokers. Get lost. But if you start adding stuff to it, I'm a stockbroker and I am one of the best in the state or country or whatever, they'll pay some more attention. So I mean,
exactly, that's
I cannot tell you how frustrating it is when I hear artists and stuff, and not just artists but also voice actors, whatever, people that I know, and you ask oh, what do I do? It's always oh, I'm a voice actor, or oh, I'm an artist. Or elaborate. There's so many other.
Even worse is aspiring voice actor or aspiring writer.
I know, right? It's so much more flavorful.
Because it's not it's not like being I'm an aspiring astronaut, where it's yeah, you actually do have to work for years and be able to get into a specific situation to be able to call yourself that. But with art, it's do you do it? Do you devote a good enough portion of your time to consider it something that you actually do, like a hobby? Even if it's a hobby, it's yeah, then you're a writer, you're an actor. Even if you just do your church play, or you just write a short story every few months, it's you are that. You don't need to be aspiring to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can be aspiring to be professional at it. That's a whole other thing, but
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And it's it kind of reminds me of there's an artist I really enjoy. His name's David Cho. We did a podcast once where he described the Cho method or something like that, which is, his secrets to success. And, outside of the more, obscene ones that are, way too not safe for work for this podcast, one of the key things he said is, if I say I'm going to be an artist, I'm not just any artist. I'm a painter. I do this, and that. I hate it when artists just get so generalized. They're yeah, I'm an artist, or I do this, or I draw. Yeah, I do. It pissed. He would freaked out, if I remember correctly, in that podcast about that. So
yeah, it's you can. There's so many aspects to every single art. With my voiceover, it's I'm a voiceover actor, but I do narration, I do audiobook, I do ad, I do character stuff is my specialty. I do creature voices. It's all of that is just the vocal side, and then it's sound-wise, it's I do music, I do mixing, I do mastering, I do editing. I know how to actually work together a sound chain to make all that stuff work. I've done podcasting like this, and I know how to edit things properly.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many skills involved, and they can all be used together, and they can also all be used on their own as separate facets. I've considered on Fiverr, once I get more of the voiceover stuff built up and that a little more solid, I'm planning on actually splitting it out so that it's I'll do audio editing for you for $5, or I'll do I'll master your song, or I'll do some writing for you. Because one of the cool things about Fiverr is you don't have to just have your profile. It's this is the one thing I do. They let you have up to,
yeah, definitely.
I think when you first start up, you can have up to 7 gigs where they're all different things, and then now I'm at level 1, which means 15 gigs, and you get more and more as you go. But diversify. Like it's split, like use all of your
I agree
skills
with you.
in every way that you can, and market yourself as being able to do all of these things if you can do them.
Yeah, absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. And I'd add something, but I don't know anything else I can add that would not make me sound like a pretentious, redundant jerkwad. So,
To be honest, that's what this entire podcast is going to make us sound like, so don't worry too much about it.
of course. Of course. All right, well,
All right,
anyway,
so
well, if that's the case, let's move on and see what other subjects I could make
Right.
everyone hate myself for.
So, because this is the intro and Christian can't really look up his show notes at the moment, what I'm going to do is kind of just go over what we'll discuss with each episode. So usually we'll start out with our current situation, which is just kind of describing, how we're doing on our weekly goals from the last week, where we're at just in our lives, and how we're doing as far as freelancing goes. So I'll just go through mine really quick because I pretty much already said it, which is that I am just hustling on Fiverr every day. I also do stuff on Voice Money, but I can't really market myself on there. They send the work to me, so I just kind of have to wait on them. But yeah, I'm just trying to get as many projects as I can, and it's slowly snowballing, and I'm slowly getting more work, and I'm doing pretty decently, but it can always get better. And then, Christian, that's pretty much all I have. So what is your situation?
Mine's a little bit harder to describe. So, I mean, as for me, right now, obviously funding is an issue, but I'm also working on getting animatics and stuff ready for, the series and stuff that I like to do. I have scripts and stuff that I would love to send off to potential voice actors and stuff like that. But then, on top of that, I have other content that I would like for my channel to do. Case in point, I want to do like an esports reality show.
Mm-hmm.
As crazy as that sounds. And I don't mean just record people. I mean actually go out myself and just
Right.
do whatever stupid video game tournaments and stuff there are.
Which
and
is
just,
what I thought.
Record.
Because the Game Grumps are doing a YouTube Red show that it said it was about esports and stuff, and because pretty much all of the YouTube Red shows so far have been reality stuff, I thought crap, Christian is gonna have some steep competition, actual professional stuff, and they have Dan Harmon. But from what I've heard, on their actual videos, it sounds like they're actually doing it as more of a sitcom. So it's basically like Community, but about
yeah. From my understanding,
gaming.
That's actually an animation too.
It might be.
Or an animated series, I should say.
It might have animation involved, but they definitely have been talking about doing on-camera work. So
all right. Well,
I'm curious to see what they do with it. But you
even
have
if they
less
did,
competition than I thought.
it seems to me that I want to actually. So, like I said, I want to go to these tournaments and stuff like that. So, actually, we were supposed to record yesterday.
Yep.
Because I was actually supposed to be in Harrisburg, and I was supposed to be playing at the mid-season showdown in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for Pokemon Sun and Moon. God, I sound like such a freaking dork when I describe that. But
hey, it's being a
something
dork
happens,
is big money now.
Unfortunately, and I was debating whether or not last night I wanted to just stay there. So I didn't have a hotel room and stuff like that, and I was debating whether or not I want to stay there and try and compete anyway, or go home. But right before, I almost called Iggy and said, let's record this thing while I'm under a bridge or something like that. My game's battery died, and you need a charge to get in there, since from my understanding, they told me they do not have charges. And at that point, I was like, screw it. Not going to be able to do it. So right now, I'm here, but I will not be defeated, because the second I went home, I looked up online, and I was like, okay, what other crazy... as far as Pokemon goes and stuff like that, and then you're what other tournament areas are here that I could go to and loot, but act really good at? And there's several. There's one actually in Seattle I'd love to go to.
Which
I
is
need
that?
funding for. It's at the Seattle Convention Center.
Okay.
So, and then next week I would also like to try and go to a Street Fighter competition. Which is going to be crazy because I actually have not played Street Fighter V at all.
Oh, yeah.
So that one should be...
Yeah, I'd never have gone into fighting games, honestly. I just can't... My eyes are too slow. I don't know. It's like when people talk about like frame rates and stuff. So like if it's like a
Frame
huge
rates and
difference,
that
like
nonsense.
30 and 60, it's like, yeah, I can tell that difference. But it's like if someone's like, oh, you got to hit it exactly this frame, it's like I can't even pick out what frame that is unless
I'm
you
the
slow
same
it down
way,
like
but, like,
30%.
the thing is, though, is like, to record this, I don't want it to be about like the game as much as I want it to be kind of like about the crazy communities behind it.
Oh,
So with Street
okay.
Fighter, I think it's amazing and hilarious because like that's one of the most like violent communities there is.
So you're treating it more like a documentary rather than like
Yeah, more like a documentary rather than something like that. So in the case of the Street Fighter, though, like that's a place where like they've actually had like fist like matches end with like fist fights and stuff like that,
wow.
which is always hilarious when it's on camera.
I'm
like-
sure.
In fact, there was a guy who lost an eye at like a Killer Instinct contest or something like that. Which I don't understand how playing a video game equals losing an eye. Like
Wow.
but that's what happens at these places. So
yeah, people. I mean,
and-
that's the thing is that like it's a game, but then at the same time, people are, let's face it, kind of dumb, and they're just like, I'm gonna quit my job and do this full time. And it's like that is a terrible idea. That's like being like, I'm
terrible.
gonna be
I
a
mean-
professional poker player. It's like, yeah, that'll be good when you win, but like if you have to put everything on
Absolutely.
this one match,
It's
and if you lose,
one
you're
of the
just,
most stressful things you could possibly do.
yeah, it's like with my stuff, it's like there's very little chance like that I'm gonna, if I get a job, that I'm not gonna be able to get paid on it. But with them, it's like they have to put all of this work and time into something that happens probably like once, maybe twice a month, and then they might just completely lose it, and all that investment is just gone because there's really nothing they can
and
do.
it actually, so that's actually one of the reasons why I want to focus, like this animation, I want to focus on like my own stuff, because being an animator is really freaking hard, especially when you're like me and you're trying to focus on like 2D stuff as opposed to more 3D stuff.
Right.
So one, like, sounds really screwed up, but it's true. It's actually really true. So one of the things that a lot of artists and stuff resort to, because they quit their job and they're trying to just do nothing but like art and stuff like that, is they resort to doing commissioned porn and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah.
Like-
Which, I mean, is only a step below doing actual porn.
Gosh, I had a friend of mine who like did that, and he showed me once like just some of the commissions he got, and it was like Overwatch furry inflation stuff. It was.
I mean, if
it
the
was bad.
price is right, like that's the thing to me is also that
The price
And
is right.
it's unfortunate is that like if you look at a lot of the like prices these people will have for their commissions, it's so low compared to like a professional commission would
I
be in the
know.
hundreds of dollars
It's
range,
so
and then
bad.
it's like I'll do
they're
this for
doing this
$30, and it's like that,
$5
yeah, and it's like with art, like at least when I drew, it would take me 4 to 5 hours for a fully like colored and shaded
Well,
picture.
yeah, exactly, and this is what makes me like just so. It's so depressing because like I see all these people who are like trying to make it, and they're doing like $5 an image commission, and those drawings take them like sometimes 6 hours minimum. And then they're always of things like they hate doing, like they're always of like the weird like removable body parts fetishes and stuff like that. It's gross.
Yeah, I
It's
feel like
weird. I mean,
if it's something like that you should really have sort of a built-in fee to your pricing of like, yeah, if it's a kind of like some like a pretty squicky kind of thing like that, you should charge more,
Yeah.
because the thing is they're also likely to pay more because it's hard for them to find somebody to do it for them.
definitely. Absolutely. So I mean, like,
Just
I don't know.
learn how
If
to
you're
value
listening to this and you
yourself,
do
people.
that, like if you're fine with drawing, Star Fox doing it with Samus under a Christmas tree, I mean, go have
Well,
fun.
that's just terrible. Everybody knows Samus is Jewish.
That's true.
She had to
That's true.
convert to
So-
Star Fox's religion for that one moment.
Yep. Quite.
So-
Quite.
Yeah, I don't know. The main takeaway from that is just people need to learn to value themselves a little more and understand the value of their work and their effort. It's something that people. It's even more difficult now because the value of currency at the moment is so nebulous because there's really nothing backing it. Like I was just having a discussion earlier about how now that we don't have the gold standard, like money dropped precipitously. In the 70s, $3 had the same buying power that about $18 has now. So the minimum wage then was equivalent to an $18 minimum wage now, but everybody freaks out about this $15 minimum wage because they're like, well, that sounds like a ton because that's a huge increase. It's like, yes, but have you paid attention to how much all the cost of living has increased to that? Like, it's not proportionate at all. So it's like just what your work is worth and what your effort and time and all of that is worth. Like, you need to have a really good sense of that so that you don't get screwed over and take on things that are much more effort than they're worth to you.
It reminds me of all those poor saps who they see like an advertisement online where it's like, you could quit your job today and you could do surveys for a living. How would you like to sit on your butt and do surveys for a living? And all the nerds are like, oh, I would love to do surveys for a living.
That is not a quit your job situation.
24 hours later, I have actually seen legitimate Reddit posts where they spend 24 hours, and those Reddit posts go along the lines of, hey guys, check it out. I just earned $5 whole. Just 5 more days and I can afford Overwatch. Like, it's so... it's so sad.
Well, that's the thing too, is stuff like Fiverr. It's like Fiverr does not pay what voiceover is actually worth. Like, if you look at the actual industry standards, the kind of work I'm doing, I should be getting $20+ for what I'm actually asking.
Right.
But the thing is, I'm in a situation where I have very, small, like, I don't have a ton of bills or anything, so I'm able to, like, take a loss, at least for now, and I am diversifying out to other things. I'm mostly right now saving so that I can go to a pay-to-play site like Voices123, where you have to pay like $400 a year in a fee, but the kind of gigs you get are like stuff that pays $100 per session, like it should. So it's
and I've actually
you gotta
checked
have this
out
stuff like
Voices.
the survey thing. That shouldn't be your only source of income. That should be one of your sources of income. The eggs, baskets. Come on, this has been everybody's known.
It actually reminds me of so when Arnold Schwarzenegger first said he wanted to be an actor. He wanted to be an actor, but I think it was the second he decided, I'm actually going to try and go into it. He realized, like, I don't want to be just an actor because that's a pretty shaky path.
Exactly.
Because completely forgetting the fact that you're like in this really uncertain thing whether or not you're going to get the gig. It's like it forces you to take jobs that you would not want to take.
Exactly.
Like,
that's the
period.
thing. It's very much on the whims of the industry and just the public at large.
Absolutely. So if there's something that I thought was kind of fascinating about Arnold Schwarzenegger, is like even in the worst films that he's been in, like, he's not in there because like, oh, I just had to take the contracts, I needed the money, like a lot of these actors are. He's actually in it because he originally thought it was going to be good or something like that. So actually even before he did his first film, he actually was already a millionaire because he got into like real estate and stuff like that.
Okay.
So,
yeah, and I mean, he is an immensely intelligent dude. He is like, he has a psychology degree.
I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, if you watch what is it, Pumping Iron, the original like documentary that's like, it's about bodybuilders in general, but the main two that they focus on are Lou Ferrigno, who's more or less the like good guy as far as they frame it, and Arnold, who is like the villain basically, because what he does is because he has that psychology mind, he would mess with people. And like there was one guy, like this newer guy, who was like, do you have any tips or anything? He's like, oh, what they do in these competitions is they'll scream, like to show they're really into it. So like, you if you're like posing downwards, like you're flexing down, you give like a deep scream, and then when you lift your arms up, you like go higher with it and back and forth like that. And
I was actually reading that he would do stuff like that.
yeah, I believe
except,
the way he put it is like sometimes people ask for advices, and I feel that it's fair to give them the wrong advices.
well, I mean, that's just how it is in a competitive thing. I mean, he's playing to win, as horrible as that sounds.
Oh yeah, no, it's messed up, but like in just general life, like you kind of have to play to win the game if you want to be able to get ahead, and it sucks that that's how we have to live, but that's kind of the only way to make it work and be happy in the world we live in.
Better than caveman times when we had to kill each other to
Yeah,
get around. I mean,
at least we can kind of like leave each other to just die slowly of being
yeah,
poor.
here we can just, tell each other. Here, instead of just, killing each other in a fist fight over a thing of turkey or something like that, we can, just say like, hey, have you lost weight? You don't look like you're doing so good in the bodybuilding competition or something stupid like that. So, Yep.
Okay, so let's move on. After we'll talk about our current situation most weeks, we'll go on to our weeks in general, where we're just going to kind of detail what we did over the week, starting with, what amount, like how much money we made from projects, because I'd like to talk numbers so that people can get a realistic idea of what we make and what you can kind of expect to make doing the same sort of stuff that we do. So we can like wait until next week to do that.
Right.
Since we don't really have numbers at the moment. But yeah, we'll usually talk about that. The second part,
I'll have exact numbers next week.
The second part, well, there will be 3 parts in the Our Week section, would be project updates, where we'll just kind of update you on all the projects we've talked about. We can talk kind of quick about some of the, stuff that we've been doing for quite a while. You talked about, the video game competitions and stuff already. I've been working on, and it's a project we're kind of working on together, though it's really waiting on me because I have to actually write the thing. But Hunter's Moon, which is a sci-fi animated film that we have been working on forever. And I'm including when it used to be a totally other project, which is the one we originally met each other
the one
over.
that failed completely.
Yeah, so I've been working on this thing forever. And the thing is, I have half of it written. It's half written, so there is progress on it, but I've just pushed it way to the back burner because I've had like all these ideas of like, I want it to be, there's like, it's just not quite what I want yet. Like it's a start, but it's like, I feel like there's just this definite like essence and spirit that it doesn't quite have yet. So like I've been trying to rework it in my mind.
I think the sad thing is like even if you do finish it up, you probably will have to go back and like edit a bunch of things because no one gets something good the first time. I actually wrote
like, all of the drafts that you have to go through with writing like a feature-length movie, which it's slated to be, is kind of ridiculous. Like even M. Night Shyamalan said once that when he was writing The Sixth Sense, he didn't even know what the twist was until like the fourth draft.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, so one of the things Pixar does is they they'll pretty much make like a whole animatic of like, the movie that they're about to, like they'll hire script writers, they'll hire voice actors and stuff like that. And then they'll watch it, but like if it sucks, they'll be all like, God, this sucks. Let's get rid of it. Let's try again.
Yeah. Which
is what they did. Toy Story went through like 15 revisions, I think.
Someone, I can't remember the name. The head of Nintendo, like the president of Nintendo under like around the era of when the NES came out and when, Shigeru Miyamoto was in his heyday making Mario and Zelda and stuff. Sakamoto, I believe.
I believe it was Sakamoto.
Yeah. He was a very interesting figure because he didn't play video games. He didn't like video games at all. He basically just played like Go. Like that was about it. Like he was just an old businessman and he had inherited it from, a long line because it's an over 100-year-old company. They were a card company well before video games came around. But the thing was, he had a great eye for games. Like that's why Shigeru was just like his friend's nephew or son or something, and he saw like all of the ideas he had, like, it's Mario and he's a plumber and he's gonna, go across here, and it's like, Zelda and it's like Link and he's running around and he's like, exploring and stuff. And he saw that and he was like, yes, that is great. That is gonna be a hit. Like, that's the
I think
thing.
this is before the Super Nintendo era.
Yeah.
Like,
he just had an amazing idea for what would work, to the point where teams would bring him fully completed games, like ready to ship, and he would look at them and he'd have someone play them and he'd be like, yeah, this isn't gonna work, scrap it, start over. Like, he would just tell him like months of work just gone, because it's just like, yeah, no, it sucks. Like, I don't know what you guys were thinking, but this is not gonna sell.
Well, it's something I actually like talking about. Like, I love bringing this up with people. Is the fucking Segway? Okay, like, Segways. They are the dorkiest, most like useless possible thing out there.
Oh, totally.
You want to know how long they spent working on the Segway?
Oh,
I think it was like 6 whole years, and
wow.
billions and billions and billions of dollars. And the only reason why is because the guy who invented the Segway had this incredible track record where he was doing all these like incredible things. He made all these just insane, amazing innovations. But what happened with the Segway is they designed it all behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
And because he filled himself with like pretty much yes men, no one was there to say like, this sucks.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, God, the Segway is so dumb. And now it's basically just boiled down to like Chinese knockoff
it is an interesting fact. I don't even think the Segway sold more than 1 million units, to be honest with you.
Did you know there's no official hoverboard, by the way? Like the basically Segway without the handle hoverboard thing. There's no official one. They're all Chinese knockoffs. They're all dangerous, like cheap battery.
Well, of course. I mean, like, I think it's like they trademarked the word hoverboard and then they just went from there. But
yeah, I mean, there's just no like official supplier, and they're kind of all just horribly dangerous. But yeah, the thing recently where that happened was, what was it? The Juicero? Did you hear about that?
I think it was the Juicero.
Yeah, where it was just like, hey, we have like this crazy Wi-Fi, not Wi-Fi enabled, Wi-Fi mandatory juicer. It has to be connected to Wi-Fi to work. And it's like it was going to be $700, then they dropped it to $400, and then everybody was like, that's really dumb. And someone pointed out, like, hey, you can buy these like super overpriced juice packs and just squeeze it with your hands. You don't even need to like snip it open. It's literally, you just squeeze it and it comes out the spout.
It's the dumbest thing, and people bought it.
Why?
People bought that stupid thing because we're stupid. It's the same way why we don't have this stupid Internet of Things. We're like, every single device we have has to be connected to the internet, including freaking rectal thermometers.
And the thing is, the reason that it was connected to the internet was to check like supply and stuff. Well, I mean, also it was basically so that if you were trying to use some kind of bootleg, like generic store brand, like juice pack, they'd be like, nope, can't use it. Or
That's so dumb.
It's also to be like, hey, there's a product recall. You can't use this pack. So that's just $5 down the drain.
So dumb. That is so
It was the dumbest thing. And again, yeah, it's behind closed doors, and it was like just a ton of angel investors, and they just looked at it and they were like, yeah, I got it. It's a great idea. We're going to make it happen. And all the angel investors were trying desperately to save it and like talk it up. And it's like, guys, nobody's going to get it. It's the stupidest thing on the planet.
Well, what blows me away are the people who actually bought the thing. I mean, like, you take a look at this thing, and it's like,
well, I mean,
there's a juicer that you can spend, like, you can spend $700 on for something you can do at your house for free.
Yeah, it's
and then
trying
everyone's
to be
all
like Keurig,
I want that.
but for juicers, and it's like, that's a stupid idea. Like, even regular juicers are kind of dumb in the long run.
It's so like, dumb, but people buy into this.
Yeah, I mean, not enough. That's the thing, is like, there was no way they were making back that investment. They did that at a major loss, so that's their own fault for being out of touch with, human beings.
Pretty much. Well, that's one of the interesting things going on. Like, almost, I should say, always has been going on Silicon Valley. Is like, you have a lot of these just investors and stuff like that. They get so much money, and they're so used to projects going well that they just give money to any stupid idea out there.
Yep.
So, I mean, there is almost like a running joke or something like that Silicon Valley has no freaking clue how to make money, but at least they have a cool spinny chair.
Yeah.
So
at least they have a slide from the second floor to the first. What's that? We had to sell the first floor? Nobody uses the slide. Block it off.
yeah, there you go.
Okay, so back to our project updates. Yeah, the other thing is, Fiverr, setting up. I got back on Voice Bunny pretty recently. It's not super profitable. It works in a really weird way, and I can't really market myself there the way that it's set up, so I just have to kind of wait for them to get projects to me, and I don't know. I've made an okay amount of money. I think like $35 or something, but it's been like piecemeal over weeks, so it's okay so far. And then the other thing, which, I mean, if you listen to the betas, you heard me talk about this all the time, is I finally have my recording space set up. Closet, full of audio foam, microphone set up perfectly, got a sweet sound chain, so I actually sound professional, and I actually finally was able to put together a demo that sounds like it was actually made professionally. It wasn't, but, I made it sound as if it is, so what's the difference?
Yeah. I mean, at least you're not one of those poor schmucks who pay sometimes like over $500 to have like a professional recording studio or.
Oh no, yeah. If you want to go
like
professional, it's like $1,000. Like it's $1,000 for a used whisper room, which is the closest you can get to soundproofing without just like going to the thousands and thousands of dollars range, like turning an entire room into an actual recording space. And people just buy the RLX foam, and it's like, look, it's blue and black, and Markiplier uses it, so it works.
Markiplier and PewDiePie use it must be the greatest thing, guys.
I don't think PewDiePie even uses it. His setup looks so garbage, which is kind of infuriating because it's like he has money. He could probably use less than
He's
half a
too
percent.
busy screaming over the microphone.
He could use less than 0.5% to pay someone to make him a recording studio within his house that's just perfect, like Hollywood level recording. But it's like, no, I don't care. I don't have to go above the bare minimum of qualities to make money. So why would I
bare
bother?
minimum of quality. I need to save my money. Disney just fired me the other day.
Honestly, yeah, he probably should save his money because
actually,
his bubble is
really
bursting fast.
Yeah, anyway. So,
but yeah, my whole setup together, I think if I add everything together, less than $200 easy. And I mean, I'm going to definitely pay for a better mic at some point because this one's pretty cheap. But as far as it goes now, it's more than good enough to get me recording. It's not broadcast quality, but it is professional enough for Fiverr and all that. So once I can get a nice CAD E100S or some such for $500, that'll be my first really big investment. I'll gonna pay for an actual desktop first because I'd been on this 6-year-old laptop now, and it's on its way out. It has been for 2 years already, so need to get a nice desktop and actually I'll probably just go with a Lenovo Idea Center. It's less than $400. Seeing 8 gigs, terabyte of space.
Right, absolutely. And those are always good ones. Although it always kind of blows me away when myself included, we talk about I need to get new computer gear and stuff like that because this phone I have in my pocket's just not cutting it anymore for this and that. And then I always remember smartphones today, even really crappy $50 ones that you can get at Dollar General or something like that, that's better technology than the stuff that was sent to the moon.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they were running Windows 3.0 on recent moon launches, and it was actually apparently the first task they do every day is just reboot all the computers to prevent them from crashing. Yeah.
I'm not surprised, especially considering that millions of people still use Windows XP.
Yeah, so. That's my thing. Is I always and I do panels on this and stuff when I get can get a chance. But it's the thing I always stress is that while I did set all this up, you can get started doing voiceover stuff and sound better than most people with really simple stuff for less than $50. Seriously, I could take my smartphone. And for $5, I could just link all this through that and not even use my computer and just do all of my voiceover stuff through that, and it would work just fine.
Oh yeah.
people are like seem to think that there's like this barrier to entry. Like I have to have this beautiful gravelly voice, and I have to like have the greatest
sound
equipment, and I gotta spend $3,000 on a Neumann U87, and it's like, stop. Get yourself like a pile mixer for $10. Get yourself a fucking microphone for like $30. Get yourself a laptop. Record.
Iggy, how am I supposed to sound sexy for my YouTube fan page that doesn't exist yet?
Crawl under your blanket. It doesn't matter how cheap your microphone is. The only thing that really ends up mattering at like the beginner level is how good your space is. So just don't record in your bathroom or like your room with like nothing on the walls. Just get under the blanket to absorb all of the sound. Make sure you don't pop your peas like that. You're good. You're gonna sound 10 times better than most of the people on the auditions you're doing.
There's a video out there, some audiophile who was actually like reviewing one of the major YouTubers' video. I think it was PewDiePie who was reviewing, and he spent like 10. It wasn't 10. It was 30 full minutes of just like 5 seconds of footage from PewDiePie video, and he was just criticizing and just ripping into like the horrible way this guy records sound.
God, yeah, I gotta tell you,
the
it's
setup,
like,
the microphone.
He basically has it like right. He has the mic like right under his mouth, so he sounds like this the entire time. Like, "Hey, dudes, we're gonna do the thing. It is it's the guy over there."
That sounds like Leafy is here, honestly.
He doesn't like move. Like when he shouts, he just does it right there, so that it blows the microphone out so hard it sounds terrible. And that's like one of the like first things you should learn when recording stuff like that is just learn that when you're quiet, you get closer so that you sound louder in the same volume, and then you go to a regular volume when you're further away. And then if you want to shout, you back up so it doesn't blow the microphone out. It's simple.
It actually sounded funnier than I thought it would sound.
Yeah.
Like I'm so used to people like, hearing the stupid YouTube thing where they get up close to the microphone and they just start like screaming like this.
Yeah, like earlier, I was recording a thing for like this graphic novel where this guy gets his dick gnawed off by like zombies. It was ridiculous.
Sounds like a wonderful job there.
Oh, it was so much fun. But yeah, there's a point where it's just screaming because he's just like got his genitals bitten off. And so all I did was I turned the gain down like this. And then I screamed as loud as I could directly into the microphone. And it sounded great because it wasn't clipping. That's the main thing. You just got to turn your gain down a little bit.
All right.
And I turned it back up so I can actually be heard. There we go.
For a second, I was actually worried you're going to say you turned down the echo volume and then you chopped your own dick off and recorded yourself screaming.
I'm not that method. I considered it. Not that method.
And that method? Well, I'm ashamed in you.
I know. I'm a fraud.
Didn't go hard enough. What did we teach you about method acting?
I got to go hard in the motherfucking paint, sucker.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
All right. So the third part we're going to usually go into is new projects. This is stuff we're planning on starting in the upcoming week and all that.
Yep.
And let's see.
We don't have to go through my week, by the way, because my week was pretty much, to sum it up in like one word.
Pretty much the same stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I saw a psychiatrist and I did esports things. That's pretty much it.
Well, there you go. My main things are, let's see, I'm working on a new EP, which is actually an LP because it's 10 songs, but it's a bunch of nerdcore tracks. I got I've got 10 nerdcore tracks, 9 of them are finished. It's mostly finished now. I just need to get the recording, the mixing, the mastering done. It's just got a bunch of stuff. It's got a song about Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's got Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. It's got a Steven Universe song in there. I've reworked some of the songs I used for My Little Pony back in the day when I thought I'd be able to do something with that, but then it turns out everybody in that fandom sucked, so that didn't work out.
Nice.
But yeah. In speaking of, I'm projecting to release that in June, but speaking of the MLP fandom, against my better judgment, I applied to play a set at TrotCon in Ohio, which is, it's not the biggest con. It's definitely a smaller one, but I figured I'd give it a shot, so I might be playing music there. They said they'd start sending out confirmations like on the 15th, and that they'll like even if I'm put on the waiting list, they're gonna contact me. But then I got in contact with them, and they said, we're doing it in waves, so I haven't gotten it yet. But
as long as you're having, well, actually, I just totally cut you off. So like, you didn't get in. It sounds like.
I don't know yet. That's it. I haven't gotten a response yet, is what I'm saying. But the thing is, like, one thing I like about TrotCon, because they actually like handle their stuff professionally, unlike a lot of the cons I've worked with before. They, even if I don't get in, they're gonna let me know. They're gonna be like, "Hey, you're on the waiting list. Like, thank you," so I can like kill that suspense. It's not like, other cons I've been to, which I won't name names, professionalism-wise. But they were just like, hey, it's a month before the con. We're just going to toss you in a Skype group chat without saying anything. And if you weren't on Skype or anything, you just don't know that you're a part of it.
You see, there was actually a couple there was one thing that me and him both worked on. And, we had no clue we were getting space at like a convention or something like that until the night of the panel.
Yeah.
And I think it was he had to go out, like, Iggy had to go out, like, out of the blue, like, with some team members. They didn't have any idea, like, what are we doing here? What?
Yeah.
What do we say?
Was it. The thing was, I was at the convention, and so I guess were some other team members from this project, and one of them, like, found me and was like, hey, do you know what's going on with this panel? And I was like, what? And we looked at the book, and it was like, yeah, it was scheduled for the project to have a panel. So we got onto Skype, and we're like, hey, do you guys know what's happening here? Do you want us to help out? And they're like, we canceled that panel. And it's like, well, somebody didn't get the memo. So they were like, well, then, we're going to be briefing you guys on what to talk about for an hour then. It's like, cool, we have like 12 hours to do this. Let's get it done. So we made it happen. But yeah, that's the same con that they gave me like notice
something similar happened actually out here with me. The difference is I did not make it to said thing because they did not want to give me a ticket in, and I was like, I'm not paying $70 for this.
Yeah, I only did that because I was already there doing my own panels and stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, freaking,
I don't know. It's just ridiculousness to me.
Things are so dumb, and that's why
that specific convention, like the one where that happened at, and the one with the music, and I could just go off on it for ages. I like was staff there from like the first year through last year. Like this one that just happened a week or so ago is the first one I've missed since it started because I'm living nowhere nearby, and it's just, God, they just don't have their shit together.
They don't have an idea of.
They don't know what they're doing. They're just so amateur. And I get it. Like, you guys can't necessarily get professionals to do this stuff, but you gotta at least make sure that the people you do get, you can bring them up to at least a like prosumer level where they know how to
they don't even bother putting any effort in.
Exactly. And they have money. That's the thing. This is like the second biggest conventions for the fandom, and it's just like they're very popular, but it's like they don't know how to market themselves. They don't know how to really handle any aspect. They have the worst programming. It's like so much just awful amateur stuff, and it's disappointing to me because they really had potential from the beginning. They had so much, like they had such an audience that they could have gone to, and they could have gotten they could have built up to be something really big and really great, but they just couldn't do it. Their organization was never solid. They were changing board members constantly. It's a totally different board now than it was like a year ago, and that's nowhere near the board they started with. It's like ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, it's always so funny to me when you have like any type of like convention or whatever, and you have all these people being all like, if I'm not on board on the team, I'm gonna get really sad. And sometimes like I've heard of people actually threatening suicide to get on like teams and stuff like that.
Wow. It's not worth it, guys. It really isn't. These teams are not worth your time.
And then comes the actual work, they don't work. And it's like they're there, and then they're always like, excuse me, can you go do something? And they're like, yeah, I'll do it in a bit. And they spend like 10 hours slacking off and just doing nothing. It's so
That's one thing I like about Discord. As a we're recording this on Skype, but everybody's moving over to Discord because Skype is kind of dying. But one thing I really like about it is that if you go and you look at someone's profile, if they're playing a video game, it shows you. So now you know, like, if they say they're doing something, it's like, that says you're playing Saints Row. Don't try and tell me you're working on it.
Absolutely, and that's actually, that's probably my biggest issue with a lot of projects I've worked on, where, like, even if it's paid, in fact, there's a lot of times paid projects are the same way. You have this issue of people who work at home and stuff like that, and it's like, that's fine and dandy, but a lot of times they don't really work.
Yeah, the thing is, like, paid gigs, understandably, it's like, yeah, you gotta put your work into that. But the thing with the volunteer gigs is the ones that work are the ones where it's a group of friends who already knew each other and are all passionate about the project. A lot of these projects, the ones that fail, are ones where it's like, it's really ambitious, and they just get a bunch of random people who are only, like, half interested, or they might be very interested, but they don't have the skill, or, like, it's just, you have to have a core team of people who are really into it and are willing to put the work in, so that while everybody else is there to help, and while they might not be that skilled, they're not really doing things where an immense amount of skill is needed, the core team, even if it was just them, like, they could get it done on their own. It would just take longer. Everybody else is just helping to speed things up. But the thing that a lot of them do is they'll have this core team of people who are behind it, but they couldn't do it on their own. Like, there's no way that they could ever complete the task on their own, and it's not just because of all the man hours involved. It's just they don't have the skill or, like, the knowledge.
If there's something I've learned is, anytime I ever take a job or something like that, I always make sure, even if they're offering pretty good pay, I'm always like, okay, where's the contract?
Exactly.
Like, where is the contract? If they have not bothered getting a contract out for exactly what you're going to do and what your work is going to be and, what you're going to represent, if they've not bothered doing that, even if they don't have malintentions, they are clearly too lazy to do, like, one of the first fundamental steps, and that is defining your rights as a worker. And it's
lazy or incompetent.
Saying no to them. Like, just outright no. Like, I don't care if I got these people off of, like, freelance or Upwork or something. Like, if there's no contract, no, not doing it. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Because I have been, like, I've been in so many things that have, like, either not worked out or I've been completely ripped off. And every single time, it's always the no contract thing. So
yeah, that's the thing, is that's why I like working through, like, Fiverr and Voice Money and these casting sites, because even if in the end that there are problems with the person and they don't really know quite what they're doing, Fiverr handles all that and all the billing, so I'm going to get paid whether they know what they're doing or not. So as long as I get them the thing, I will get the money eventually. That's why, and this is another thing I'm going to try and do, is do email marketing through Craigslist, using Ad Hunter, which is basically just a website where it searches all of Craigslist rather than by city. And basically just send out emails and stuff. And I'm kind of nervous to do that because, yeah, like you said, it's like, it's kind of difficult to gauge sometimes whether someone is really going to make the thing happen, or if they know what they're doing, or if they're going to make a mistake, they'll end up, reflecting badly on you, or just making your life a lot more complicated than it needs to be. So, that's definitely kind of a step.
Is it's like, even if, from the company side, it's actually better to give people, like, a contract or something like that, so they can't, like, come back and sue you later on for something stupid.
Exactly. Get a lawyer, guys. I know they're expensive, but guess what? If you can't afford a lawyer, then you probably can't afford to do your project.
Pretty much.
Unless it's like a YouTube short or something. If it's, especially most of these, they're like, we're going to be a huge animated series, like full broadcast length animated series, or we're going to be like
pretty much
a feature length film. It's like, get a lawyer. You know what all
pretty
of these
much.
guys
and,
have? They have legal teams. You need one.
Yeah, pretty much. And on the subject of, lazy people and stuff like that, me and Iggy, we went a couple projects that have not gone through, but they had this one team or whatever Like right now, from my understanding, they formed a new team, but they're full of crazy people that are insanely lazy. And right now, instead of focusing on their new project, they're instead focusing on making a documentary pretty much bashing everyone who doesn't agree with them.
Yeah,
and
that's
trying
really
to blame
depressing to
everyone
me.
but their own lazy selves on why the previous thing we worked on failed.
And you know what?
So-
Like, they made The Disaster Artist about The Room, but the thing is, The Room actually got made.
Yep.
Like, that's the thing, is like, I'm cool with these. Or like, there's like a documentary about Terry Gilliam trying to make a Man of La Mancha, like a Don Quixote movie, and it didn't happen. But the thing is, there was enough that happened with it for them to have material for it. With this
Yeah,
project that they're doing,
absolutely.
they don't have anything. It never went to be anything. It was supposed to be an animated series, and they didn't have a single first episode after 4 years.
They didn't even have a finished animatic until I think year 3, didn't they?
No, yeah, not at all. And then they they were like, we're going to do a motion comic instead. And after a week, they had nothing. They had no
take
sketches.
just a
They
day,
had
just
nothing.
color the animatic.
Yeah, exactly. That's all a motion comic basically is. Color the animatic and do some just simple, just like make the figures symbols and just do some like basic
Yep.
scenes.
Yep, absolutely. So
You don't need to do
me and
lip syncing.
Nikki-
You don't need to even animate the various limbs. It's just like an actual like shadow puppet basically.
It's so dumb, and I let me say this: when that whole documentary comes out, I'm just gonna grab a popcorn and prepare for some diehard laughter because
It's gonna be
If
it's gonna
they're
be
too lazy
hilarious because
to
they're-
even get like a script together, I am so looking forward to how lazy this documentary is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, even if they put so much effort into it, my question is going to be, where was that effort when the project was actually happening?
Exactly. So
Because then
anyway.
then this documentary wouldn't be a thing. It would be the behind the scenes of the actual thing that happened, but it didn't happen because it was
It's
never
so
going to.
dumb, and I was, to be honest with you, I was only involved in that thing out of pity,
Yeah,
which is
Same,
never a good
honestly.
reason to do something.
Not exactly the same here, but I was more there out of apathy, where it was like, well, they're not asking me to put in any work, so I'll hang out and watch what happens. But yeah, they weren't like asking me to do anything.
They're
sent
not
me-
asking me to do anything. Why not? I'll stick around.
They sent out like a casting call like once every 4 months for these side series they were doing, and they put way too much focus on those. But I'm gonna move on because we could talk for days
They put
about
too much focus
that.
on because they could crap those out pretty easily without like too much.
Yeah, because they were just all audio, and like
Yeah, and
the
that's
people
all
behind
they
it
did.
were the people behind it were the only ones with the actual skill and knowledge in the thing. Because if anything, they had audio, but they didn't have any visuals. Which, when you're doing an animated thing, you need to have people who can draw and animate.
It's dumb. It's really dumb, and I'm glad that stupid nonsense behind me because
Yeah.
whew, boy, that's a subject for another episode. I could list on and on and on about how stupid these things are, but
Yeah, and
anyway, moving on. So
yeah, I only have one last thing to talk about. It's still in very, very early development, so I don't have that much to say. But I'm collabing on a comic with my partner Coco. She draws, I think, really well. So she had an idea for a comic, and I'm helping her by writing it and working it all out with that. But it's still like we don't even have a full outline yet. We've only been working on it for like a day or two, so still really, really early. I'll just keep people updated on that as it goes on.
yeah, okay, that sounds cool.
And then
Sounds cool. So I guess it's my turn now.
Yeah. So what are your new projects coming up?
Well, I mentioned that I want to do YouTube series and stuff like that. So one of the things I mentioned is that I'm still doing animatic stuff like that, but yeah, I guess monetizing my YouTube channel, I want to do it via merchandise for the most part. Because there's even if this were on like regular TV, there's no way you can make like a sizable income out of just animation. 'Cause it's so time consuming and long. So the internet's awesome. So you can sell pretty much anything you want, and you know, Amazon's awesome. You could put a book on there and you could sell it.
Yep.
And, literally a couple days, like about last week, actually, I was like, yeah, I could write books about my characters. And then it suddenly hit me, like, why don't I write a couple books first just to get, like, the characters and story down and whatnot?
Yeah, why not?
Put them on there and see how well they work and kind of use that as a way to, like, gauge, like, will this work as a series or something like that? So I'm going to be writing some books based on that. I'm also going to be writing some books that are unrelated to that about internet marketing and stuff like that. I'm going to be selling that on the site Warrior Plus, which is something I'm sure you never heard of before, and
I've only heard of
don't
it.
blame you. It's an internet marketing thing. I know a lot about marketing. I know a lot about sales, and I'm going to be using that as a way to, fund some of my other things. I guess outside of the whole YouTube thing, where I still got to get like animatics and stuff, I'm still going to get a lot of stuff going. I have Street Fighter to learn in like a week.
Yeah.
Actually, technically less than a week. Things on Friday morning. So I don't even have a computer that could run the game right now.
Oh, good.
So this is going to be an interesting thing. So I got to get a computer, I got to get the game, and then I got to get over like halfway across the country for that. So
Good.
this is going to be a fun one.
Yes, and we will be excited to hear about it.
Yeah, let's hope it's not like what happened this week, where it's like I almost did it, but then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So that would be pretty bad. So actually, it used to be a running joke on this podcast that in the beta episodes, it would pretty much be like we should have renamed this the "We'll Do It Next Week" podcast because.
Yeah, because
that's pretty much what happened every time we recorded an episode.
that was why
But
there was.
I'm going to make sure that does not happen again because
That's why there was
just
such a big gap.
embarrassing.
Such a big gap between the betas and this is because I was like, okay, we need to kind of postpone this until we actually have some balls rolling, and I finally do with Fiverr and stuff, and you're doing your thing too. So we're
I
actually
have
like
something
moving forward.
going. That's better than like I'll do it next week.
Exactly.
Like what's so bad is like we're not the only ones to do that though. Like everyone does it.
Oh yeah,
Like,
totally.
we all.
It's the
put
biggest
crap
bane
off
of any
and-
artist.
I mean, there's a YouTuber I like. His name's Casey Neistat. He uploaded this one video one time, but before he uploaded, he made this vlog describing how like he's been waiting 12 years to edit this video. He's been putting it off for like that freaking long. And I was like, wow. And I thought I was lazy. Holy shit.
Something I saw recently, Bernie from Rooster Teeth, he does vlogs, and he mentioned something he saw on Tumblr, which is something he lives by, and I think is a pretty good point to relate to this, is that it was from The Angry Violinist, and what he said is motivation is bullshit. Like, you can't wait for motivation to happen. Like, it is true that your best work is going to happen when you have motivation, but you're never going to get anything done because it's very fleeting and it's very temporary.
Oh, absolutely.
What you need to focus on is not motivation, but discipline for like getting yourself to work even when you don't have motivation, because once you're able to do that, the motivation will come with it, and once you're actually rolling with it, then you'll feel more motivation to actually finish it. But you have to learn discipline to do it, even when it's the last thing you want to do.
definitely.
Even when you would rather die than actually do the thing. You want to sleep, you want to do all these other things. Just do the thing. That's discipline yourself.
Yeah,
do it.
absolutely. And it reminds me of it's actually a psychological fact that if you feel happy and you say I got to feel happy before I can do something, you're most likely not going to do something because just
Exactly.
envisioning it is giving the exact same response as completing the thing would do.
Yeah, I've fallen into that so many
So
times.
this is why books like The Secret sell so well, because it tells everyone, you can believe anything you want as long as you just sit there and dream about it and dream about
it'll
it.
come to
And that's
you.
what people
The
do.
law of attraction, mental whatever. I hate that.
Yeah, the idea that you have to work towards something. No one likes that. We all just want to sit around all
Exactly.
day and watch.
That's the thing. Is the American dream is that you can work yourself Like, you can work yourself up to any position you want. But the thing is, people don't want to believe that. People want to believe that you can kind of luck your way into stuff. That's why people hate... like, one reason that I've heard that people don't like Kanye West is he is amazing at what he does. He's an amazing producer, and people hate him because he's arrogant and because he didn't have just, like, that big break. He just worked for years and years and years to get himself to be the best. Like, he'd stay up till 3 a.m. working on beats, producing them, making them perfect because he wanted to be the best and he had that drive. And to me, that's more inspiring. But a lot of people don't like that because it makes it feel like they feel insecure and they're like, well, I can't do that, so fuck that guy. He thinks he's better than me. Like,
well, that's
Aziz Ansari has a bit, like, they're friends now, so I'm assuming it was in good humor, but there's a part in a Kanye song where he has the line, you tried making 3 beats a day for 5 summers. And it's like, he makes a joke like, oh, well, boom, ticka, boom, ticka. That was 2 right there, and it's just a regular Sunday in the autumn. I don't know if that's, more, whatever, that's the joke, but it's like that's what it is he just made 3 beats a day, like fully fleshed out beats. And if you listen to the beats he makes, they are really complex and they have a lot of layers to them, like way outside of what most hip hop is, which is just like a beat and a sample, and then that's pretty much it. And then it's like,
it's always like the click, click, click.
Yeah, to the point where when I was working on this EP, I kept listening to my stuff and I'm like, it doesn't sound like most hip hop I hear. And I was like, what's wrong with it? Like, I just looked at like everything. I'm like, I got all these like 5 tracks here. I got like, drums, second drums, melody, other melody, and I the bass, and I went and I listened to a bunch of hip hop, and I'm like, oh, that's why. All they have is it's just like a simple drum beat that's just like just keeping the beat and like a sample underneath it, like a melody, and that's it. It's just those 2 parts, and it's like, okay, that seems like it's easier to rap over, but like, I see what I was doing. I was overthinking it, but at the same time, that's the kind of stuff that Kanye would do. Is he would just layer so much stuff in there, and it's so complex and like crazy, and it's so cool to listen to.
That kind of reminds me of I can't remember the music artist, but I do know that one of the things Walt Disney, like, I guess to change it from music artist to someone I actually know did this, Walt Disney, actually, he would do something kind of similar when he made Snow White. Is he had the, kind of just rough story of Snow White. It's a public domain story. It's an old fairy tale. But when he made the movie, when he did the animatic, things were coming out like so bland. He just did not like it at all. But he had a whole bunch of scrap film around. So we actually took the scrap film and kind of like spliced it all together to like make this little movie or some sort. Right. And then when it seemed a little too similar to the source, he was like, okay, let's add another movie. And then he added another movie, and then he kept on splicing together like all these clips until like he had a rough idea of what would make a good movie with Snow White. So I mean, shit works when you just keep working at it. So I mean,
yeah, pretty much. You just have to. That's the thing, is more than anything, work even when you don't want to. Like, that's pretty much it. It's just, you have to have discipline. You have to practice and learn, and you don't like try and jump yourself past the basics. If you want to learn guitar, you don't just go straight to shredding. You got to learn your chords first. You got to take it slow. You got to learn the scales. You got to actually like practice them until you're not like sounding shaky,
pretty much,
and twangy. So it's like
pretty much.
Yeah, and I'll consider that my business focus, which in the next section of our show notes would be our plans, which is more or less, what's coming up.
Yep.
With more of a goal orient. And yeah, we'll usually talk about our business focus. We'll each have like something that we'll want to discuss about, just like an aspect of business and freelancing and stuff. So that's more or less mine. It's just discipline. Discipline yourself. Like, work when you don't want to, because that's the only way you're going to get good. So, Christian, do you have a business focus for this week?
Kind of sort of similar. I mean, just get things actually finished. Exactly. I mean, like, it's so easy to say, like, I'm going to do this, and that, and then you never freaking do it.
Right, that's the thing
I
with
mean-
the project we were talking about, the animated series. It was like to me, after 4 years they should have had more, because really you just do something a day. If it's a sketch,
That's-
if it's a line of script, if
I know,
it's a
and
part
they
of a
never
song.
did it. They never did it because they were too busy doing something else.
Right,
you
they
know?
always wanted. They were always waiting for a day where they could just do hours of work at a time. But it's like you're not going to find that if you have a job. If you have all these other obligations in your life, you're not going to find a time where you can just sit down and have hours to
Absolutely.
yourself.
And, you know,
have
it reminds
you have
me
to
of-
take the minutes that you can find. It's like, I have 5 minutes here. Let me just work on it in some way that I can. And then, you know what? That'll add up. If you're on the toilet, on your phone, just like type party
pretty very
book.
much. It's really dumb, and it's, you know, it's like so many people say, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and then they don't do it, and then the reasons why they don't do it is like, I don't feel like, but they never say I don't feel like it. They always blame something else.
Yeah, it's like,
So in the case of this
I'm
thing that
worn
we're
out
talking
from my
about, they're making a whole
job.
documentary. Like, I don't even know if you can consider it a documentary. It looks more just like a couple pictures with people talking over it, where
Yeah.
they're going to be pretty much blaming everyone. But the fact that instead of actually doing things, these losers just sat around and played Call of Duty all day. Like,
Yep.
it's so dumb. And, you know, I even remember that I was only in there out of pity because I felt like so bad for these schmucks. But, like, you know, hey, excuse me, can you do this? No, I'm busy. Busy doing what? Oh, I'm working. And then you look at their Steam and they're like clearly playing Roblox
Yeah, it's like
for the past 12 hours.
that's
Like,
that's the thing. Just do something. Like like, don't make excuses. I have done that a lot myself. It's like, oh, my voice hurts. I'm tired. I don't have the energy to record and stuff. It's like, for me to record, it just involves coming in here, pushing one button, turning my computer on, and just like
Yeah,
moving an
it's-
arm. And it's like,
it's really
Why-
dumb. And, you know, something that I'm starting to do is actually, like, you know, keep a schedule. But then not just keep a schedule, but, like, also just properly time myself. And if I don't, you know, finish something within, like, a set, you know, time period, I find some way to, like, punish myself. But, like, I've been completing so many more things by doing that because
totally.
when I'm, like, timed, I have to, like, force myself to actually finish it within that time period versus, like, you know, you have all day to do something. Okay, cool. So the first couple hours are going to be me going on YouTube and looking up videos of men picking their nose on public places. Next few hours are going to be me looking at videos of people picking their butts on public places. And then maybe the next 5 minutes where I finish it all, I'm going to do it then.
Yeah, that's the thing I like. One thing I like about Fiverr that really keeps me motivated and disciplined is once somebody puts an order in, a timer starts. It's just a 24-hour timer, or, you know, longer if it's a longer gig, but the minimum is 24 hours, and it's just constantly there. It's constantly going. So I know I have to get it done in that time, and I have to stay in contact with people. And something I thought of recently, and I conveyed this to Christian, is something you could do to, because I realized, like, having that countdown, it really gave me a perspective of, like, how much time I had left and how much time I had to work on it, and it helped me do that. So an idea would be, before you go to bed, set a timer for 18 hours, just on your phone, just 18-hour timer. Then once you get up, the first thing you do, turn it on and just have it going throughout the day so that you can constantly check, like, how much more time do I have in the day? So it doesn't just, you know, like jump on you like, oh, it's like the middle of the night and I have nothing done. I should have been working before. It's like with this, it's like now you can keep an eye on, like, yeah, I have this much time to get stuff done, so I need to get cracking on it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's, gosh, it's like, reminds me of an old thing where it's, you know, it was an actual study done in workforce and workplace productivity and stuff like that. And they had workers that were given, you know, a time period versus, you know, people who are able to relax and do whatever they want. And, you know, we love telling ourselves that, you know, if we're not stressed, we'll be doing better work. But as it kind of turns out, like, the people who were timed did, like, an hour, they did 5 times as much work than the people who had all day to do it did.
Yeah, wasn't there that one thing you talked about where it was like there was some project and the lead was like nothing was getting done like in a good amount of time, so he was like, "Hey guys, we have this project like right here. How long do you think that would take to get done?" And they're just like, 4 weeks. It's like, okay, you have 2 days.
Oh yeah. I remember that. That was that was an actual website too. I can't remember the URL, but it's stunning. I mean, you put a time period, people get things done in the time period because they don't have time to mess around doing something else.
Right, and that's the thing is it might not be completely finished in that time period, but if they think that they have to get in that deadline, even if it's not completely finished, they got 24 hours of work put into it. Like, even if that's not all of the work that was needed, that is way more work than they would have gotten if they had just tried to spread it out over however long.
Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. So, anyway, what's next in our...
well, let's see here.
Show
Future
here.
projects. So this is where we'll kind of talk about projects that we have the idea, we're planning on doing it eventually, but we're just not focusing on it quite yet. So, for me, getting back to Hunter's Moon, the screenplay, I'm going to eventually finish that. It's just, I don't know when I'm going to find time and just like figure out it's going to be figuring out, what I want to do with it. And I'm just pretty much always like kind of brainstorming in the back of my head how I want to do that. So it'll be finished eventually. But for the time being, I'm kind of at a roadblock with that one. Something I want to work on is a series of video essays, basically, that I'll put on YouTube called Everything in Moderation, and it's more or less taking, like, social and political issues that I have a lot of thoughts about, and I end up ranting ad nauseum to my roommates, and they despise me for it, and I wear them out really hard, about all these different things, and I kind of figured out, like, instead of doing that to them, I should just put all this down and then just take the time to work out like a nicely worded way that I actually want to put this and my actual thoughts on it and just try and keep a leveled, measured, objective kind of look at these things. So that's what it's going to be about, is just a video essay series of just like trying to look at all the sides and like look at things.
Right.
Just treat it like not necessarily a documentary, but just like more or less an audio version of a news article. Something like that.
No, I got it.
I think it'll be pretty good once I get around to it.
It sounds like it'll be fine as long as you just keep at it. So.
Oh yeah, I've been writing like things here and there for it as I go on. So I have quite a few ideas. I have a few like points I've put together in a few of them, just nothing quite yet ready to record.
Right.
So. Let's see. I have other songs in the works outside of the LP. Like that's 10 songs and that'll be released in June. I was hoping towards the beginning, but maybe towards the middle now. But definitely before July. So I have other songs that I'm working on. I have a bunch of ideas in the works. They'll happen eventually. And then the Artist Trilogy. This was an idea I had recently that I definitely plan on doing eventually, of more or less just a trilogy of films, or at least short films, of just people, like artists throughout like different time periods when it was just really difficult to be an artist in that time. The main idea was just like thinking of like Shakespeare had a theater troupe, which meant that in those days there was a group of people who wandered around and made a living just being actors and writers and musicians together. And just that idea to me just fascinated me, and I definitely want to do this in the future, but I'm going to want to do a lot of research to try and make it, as accurate as possible, and try and make it, to just look into this and try and make this story of someone who aspires to be an actor in a time when you could barely hope to be a farmer or die of the plague. So pretty much that, and then I have like another couple, like the next 2 ideas as well, but that was the main thing. It's like I want to write that story, and I want to write these other 2 because I feel that they would also pair very well with it. So that's pretty much all the things that I have that I know I'm definitely going to do. I pretty much always come up with a lot of ideas, but these are the ones where I'm like, I have a solid enough idea with them that I know I will eventually do them. The other stuff, it's not fleshed out enough yet. So Christian,
It's all good.
what projects are you working on?
I'm in an interesting situation. So outside of the first one that we're both should be working, but we're really not. I've kind of told myself that I needed to focus on what's on my plate right now before I move on to something else. So I mean, until I get the finances, until I'm actually able to just really focus on doing something, which I'm trying to make sure that happens as soon as possible, obviously. I think that for this week, I'm going to remain silent on that. Next week, though, who knows? I mean, because Ziggy here knows I am a pretty much madman. I'm not bipolar, but I have bipolar symptoms. So
you have had quite
changed
the
my mind
since I've known you.
split, and so who knows? Maybe next week, but this week, nothing.
Yep, fair enough. I mean, that's the whole point of this, is to just show all of as many aspects as we can, and we hope to eventually. And speaking of, this is usually where we talk about future plans for the shows. We're hoping to get back into a regular schedule, just weekly shows, update you on all this stuff, and hopefully, I'm trying to reach out to different freelancers and stuff to kind of get more perspectives on what it is to freelance and be a creative in the current environment that we're in. So hopefully I can get more ideas, about just more people and just all of us getting to share how we feel about the thing and showing what it's like from every angle of this weird ball of madness that we call freelancing and creativity.
Freelancing is life and creative and stuff like that. Well, it's fair enough. That's fair enough. I think that next week, as far as for me in future, because obviously I need to be in a much better recording situation than outside walking around talking like a crazy man. I also need to have a copy of the show notes. So this episode was really weird for me. I was supposed to record it yesterday.
Yep.
Didn't happen. As you know, I'm here today, but I'm also in a situation where I didn't know if I was going to be with my nephews today. So they're inside, so I'm kind of rushing things a little bit, which is something I should not do because that does not lead to a good show. Doesn't lead to a good show, so I will.
At least we have a structure.
At least we have structure. Unlike, at least we're not okay, well, this is the podcast, but my mom's home, so I gotta go. Bye, guys.
Yeah. We don't have any content. Something. We're just basically gonna do an email Q&A. What's that? We didn't get any emails. Well, see you next week. So, now we're going to talk about our goals. So we do quarterly goals and weekly goals. So quarterly goals will go off of financial quarters, which the current financial quarter, I believe, goes through July. Let me think. It's January through March, April through June, right? Yeah, so it ends in June. So these are going to be our goals that we want to... so these are going to be our goals we want to get done by the end of June. For me, the Stovepipe LP, I'm going to... I keep saying EP and LP. I wanted it to be an EP originally, but then I actually looked it up, and an EP is 3 to 5 songs, and I'm doing 10, so it's actually an LP. Whatever. It's the Stovepipe EP or LP or whatever, and I definitely plan to have that released by the end of June. And I should know about my TrotCon set and the panels that I applied to do there and stuff, and that's the con itself is in July, but I should know more about that, and I should be working on that throughout the quarter. So those are my quarterly goals. Christian?
That was good. Well, as far as me, you mentioned at the end of June. On July 1st, I actually want to have I don't care how complete it is, but I want to have something on my YouTube. And in particular, I want it to be 20 minutes long. I want it to be animated.
Okay.
And, having just a month to do it's pretty hard. But, obviously, I want to get a team together. I want to get funding so I could actually get this thing actually finished. But I'm also going to do it in 3D. So I've been really studying 3D and cell shading and stuff like that to get, a two-dimensional look out of something that's three-dimensional. And when you do that, you have this amazing benefit of being able to use motion capture and stuff like that just speeds up the process and, makes it so much more efficient without seriously damaging.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, on the topic of animation, I was watching earlier, I believe his name is Kevin Perry. He's one of the animators from Laika, who made Kubo and the Two Strings. I know he worked on that one. I don't know what other ones he worked on. But
Right.
he had a video. Most of his videos are like him doing stop motion, like basically video editing magic tricks, which look really awesome. Like he doesn't have a ton of videos up on YouTube, but check them out if you haven't, because they look really cool. But he has one video where he talks about how he feels that VR can actually be really useful for stop motion. And he showed he had a Microsoft HoloLens, and he was showing us like the video feed that he was seeing. And what he showed is that there was a drawing program where you could draw just basic lines just by like drawing out across your vision, and it would, register where you were drawing and stuff. And you can draw just 3D arcs and stuff and actually plot out like how you want to.
Yeah,
like,
and that's
in the
one of the
traditional,
cooler
like,
uses of HoloLens.
yeah, like in the traditional, like, sketch out the how was it? Like sketch out the arc of how this animated character is going to move, and then just kind of like partition out like where the frames will be. Like you could, using the HoloLens and doing this, you could do this and be like more accurate to the space, and like it can give you a much cleaner, much more realistic movement with your stop motion. And I thought that looks really cool, and it really makes me want to get into stop motion because I've always wanted to. But
it's
a lot
really
of money
cool.
and space.
And it actually kind of reminds me of something that a lot of artists and stuff did before computers. Is we had projectors and stuff, and believe it or not, it actually was somewhat commonplace to project a pretty big image onto a piece of paper and then trace that image to get like perfect human form.
Yeah, rotoscoping.
Yep. So I have no doubt that. Well, actually, to be honest, I don't think they did. Otherwise, I would have heard of it. But it wouldn't surprise me that if in the past, artists and stuff, especially animators, they would pretty much use like a projector or something like that and project it onto maybe something like stop motion just to get that kind of like idea or feel of where things would need to be. But having it be in HoloLens would be so much better because you could actually have it be in like 3 dimensions instead of just like flat on the ground or
like he showed
something
he
like
had
that.
he had like a ball on a stand, and he showed like you could use the bouncing ball, and he had like an arc already set up, and he just showed how it bounced. But then he's like, but then something that's been difficult is like being able to do that with multiple objects. And he showed like, well, what if this was like a rabbit, and they like drew out like 5 different unique arcs like all over the place coming from different directions and angles. He's like, yeah, now you can move and you can see the entire 3D space of that. It's like that's
exactly
great. You're right. That would be amazing to use in stop motion.
Exactly. So, wow.
All right. So,
I don't mean to cut things short, but I am in a bit of a time situation here, and my phone's about to die.
We are running pretty long, it looks like. So let's go to our goals for the week to finish up here. So this is basically just the goal we want to have done by the time we record the next podcast, and that's usually at the beginning is where we'll update you on how well we did on that, whether we succeeded or not. So mine are I want to get 25 orders on Fiverr. I talk for a living, and I was on par for that this last week, so that should be pretty reasonable. And then I want to get all my pre-mixing work done for the LP, so all of the lyrics, all of the beats, which those are mostly done. I have like one beat, then like a couple of the beats need some work. I need to finish up the lyrics on one thing, tweak them on some others, and then just the recording. So by next week, I want to have everything except for the mixing and the mastering done, all the post-production stuff. But that's all my goals for the week. So Christian, what are your goals?
As for me, I kind of already went over this, so I'll just say, like if I don't have a book on Kindle and I'm not recording this from like a hotel room, you guys know I failed.
Yeah.
So that's going to be that. So anyway.
Our Road to Success is a Just Fall production, created under a Creative Commons Attribution and Share-alike license. This means you can use any part of the show in any way you like, as long as you credit Iggy Kid, Christian Hansen, and Just Fall Productions, and make your product just as accessible. You can find Iggy Kid on Twitter at DapperJackery or on Fiverr at fiverr.com/IggyDKid. You can find Christian Hansen on Twitter at ChrisHansen1994 or on Instagram at instagram.com/ChristianHansen1994. Our Road to Success can be found on Twitter at OR2S Podcast, on Facebook at facebook.com/Our Road to Success Show, through email at ourroadtosuccessshow@gmail.com, or on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/OR2S podcast. That's it for this week on Our Road to Success. Remember that everyone has their own road. We know you'll find yours. Happy trails!